All right, this is that moment of truth. This is that moment of truth where we wait for it and we got to see it. And the internet says yes. Waiting for everything to log in here so I know that we're live and I know that all the platforms are awake. Wakey, wakey. You know. All right, YouTube, there you are. YouTube saying hello. Hello, YouTube. Rockfin, where there's Rockfin. All right. They take turns. Sometimes Rockfin is a little quicker. Other times YouTube is a little quicker. And let me sit up a little bit. There we go. You guys know me. I don't have the world's best posture ever since my car accident. Anyway, what's up, everybody? Good afternoon to all my East Coasters. Good morning to all my fellow West Coasters. Good evening if you're in an evening time zone. And if you're in the future, Australia, New Zealand, you have an extra day of science. Solve climate change for the rest of us. And when I say solve it, I mean let's try to be better. So you know. Anyway, shout out to everyone who makes the show possible. Our friends over at Indie Left. Indie Left is the only place to find all the content creators and streamers you know and love because they curate a list for you and they update it twice a day. It's a wonderful resource for everyone out there to find out everything they got going on and to join their Discord community. Go to independentleft.media. That's independentleft.media. All right, without further ado, my guest today, she is an activist, she is a veteran, and she is an elected official. And she has a lot of stuff going on right now. So we're going to get into everything she's got going on. Please welcome to the show for the first time, Gloria Berry. Gloria, how are you?
I'm great. Happy to be here and thankful to meet you.
Thankful to meet you too. So let's start out recent and then we'll get into more just kind of general work that you've done. You published a piece recently because it has been about a year since the since Shahid Buttar's campaign and some of the allegations that were launched against him. And you were one of the folks that were speaking out about that on his behalf. So unpack it for me from your perspective. What all happened there?
Sure. I and Shahid supported each other for our campaigns, and I was very close to his campaign. And when I mean close, I mean I was called to his launch to give a speech. A few times I gave speeches in honor of to support his campaign and to bring the diversity to the campaign. And so throughout that time frame, I spent a lot of time in his office also as a volunteer. I knew his campaign staff pretty well. And uh, in a nutshell, the same staff that he ended up having to leave, whether they were fired or left on their own, a few months later created this big smear against him, and they called me to join in. So that's what happened. I had a front row seat to how people want to take down a politician or someone who is campaigning for an office, and I was just overwhelmed by it. I always just got about 2 minutes to speak on it. And when I was able to give presentations at the political clubs, and I'm here able to talk more than 2 minutes, which is great. I'm grateful. And then I wrote out everything that you probably already saw to get all of my thoughts from beginning to end of how it happened.
Here's the piece that you're referencing: white supremacy in San Francisco, how racism plays out, but still doesn't seem to be understood. And you go through the entire story, and including some some personal correspondence that you had. Well, when you first, I mean, one of the things that I've heard referenced here is that at the time people were not hearing you out. Unpack that for me. Like, how do you feel you were being silenced? Like, how was that story being suppressed?
Yeah, initially, I didn't realize I was talking to a brick wall. Initially, I thought once these folks hear the details of what was said to me, text to me, calls I received, and what I experienced, and my own lens that I have of seeing wrongdoings, Like once these folks hear my input, it might make a difference. And to a small point it did. But initially I was talking and explaining and showing my evidence, so to speak, to people who already had their mind made up.
Well, I mean, and it was about a year ago, so it's a little foggy in my mind, but it seemed like a lot of people who made up their minds, it was just they just open and shut and they didn't hear anything out. That was kind of how it seemed, and a lot of people were like, "Well, wait a second. What about I mean, what's his side of this? Like we can't just totally rush to judgment without seeing anything." And then as time unfolded, it kind of seemed like, okay, there's really no, there's really no kind of evidence or corroboration here. But by that point, the damage had been done to the campaign. Is that fair? Is that would you agree with that?
I 100% agree with it. And the common theme we hear is that Shahid needs to move on. However, as of recent, the Twitter is still complaining and about his actions, and they're referencing what the seeds were planted last year. So there's been no kind of effort to make him whole, not no bold, clear statement like, hey, we got it wrong. We apologize to Mr. Batar, and none of that has happened. So that it's a gift that keeps giving. It won't go away. And whenever someone says, hey, we need to get someone to oppose our speaker in this next election, those comments referencing this smear they conducted are there.
Yeah, and it is a difficult line to walk because the way I like to just put it as simple as possible. I am 110% in support of Me Too. I am 110% against weaponizing Me Too for dishonest
Mhm.
means. And those are two radically different things, two very different things. But it's it's a tough line to walk all too often.
And that's how I saw it, especially from his point of view. It's like,
Hmm.
how does a man um, walk that fine line without damaging some women, but yet defending themselves? So that's why part of why I wanted to speak up, because I'm a victim of a lot of sexual assault type. That's sad to say, a lot, but I've had a lot of incidents, and um, I don't know about the survivor word or victim word, because I worked through that pain and I am who I am because I refuse to live in it. But when I see it wrongfully used, like you said, weaponized, it's disgusting.
What do you think a better word could be?
Hear, hear women, because you can listen. I definitely, when I first heard the allegations against Shahid, I wasn't. It smelled fishy, but I was in no way thinking he was innocent until I heard more. I just felt, I really want to give this genuine um, uh, overview. And I wanted to check it out here, check it out there, put it all together and see where I came out at the end. And to this day, not one person that was on board with it feels it was credible. Not one.
Yeah, I mean, and that's also, on a personal level for everybody, that's also, hard to do. I mean, when I mean, obviously you were way closer than I was, but when I heard it too, I wanted to greet it with an open mind and recognize my own bias that, well, I like Shahid. At the time I met him a few times. I was certainly rooting for him and I liked, everything he had to say. So it's like, well, I like the guy. I have to recognize that bias and I have to, try to assess this to the best of my ability while recognizing that bias and trying not to let it take over. but it still smelled really fishy to me. And and then as time went on, we all know how it unfolded. Yeah. So it's yeah, it's a very it's something that we're still navigating. Well, how do you feel like as a whole? And feel free to reference some of the stuff you've written. Like we can't just kind of go through the entire article, but feel
No.
free to reference some of that stuff because I want you to talk about it. I mean, how do you feel like as a whole? Like, what is how does that kind of damage just any type of movement for progressive change? And where do you feel some of the systemic problems lie?
Got you. Yeah, it definitely harms it because when the accusations came out against Governor Cuomo, I then found myself saying, let me sit back. I'm not going to just believe the women on this, and only because I had a front row seat of what, how the word weaponized, how it was weaponized. And then as far as the system, um, there is a system that's been in place since post slavery where a white woman says this happened, then it's got to be true, and that's such a privilege and such a power. And mind you, I've had incidents happen to me and was not believed, and I feel in uh, that sensitive area, uh, there is a privilege of when someone who doesn't look like me is automatically believed. And then the system, as far as comrades and you call it don't snitch or the code, keep with the code. You have the blue code, the correction officers have the green wall. When you have people who taken oaths or are comrades and believe in solidarity forever, to get someone to break ranks from that's a system in itself.
Well, and that goes into when you see police fatally shoot somebody or see the video of it and you see police fatally shoot somebody, and I believe this happened in Minnesota. It wasn't George Floyd, it was a different incident, but in Minnesota, a police officer fatally shot somebody and another officer said, "We're going to get you through this." They weren't speaking to the person bleeding to death. They were
Right.
speaking to the officer who just shot that person.
Right.
And that's the bad type of comrade. There's the good comrade, but that's the bad comrade. That's the bad like solidarity forever. That type of solidarity forever, where we are a corrupt, systemically racist institution, corrupt to the gills, and we're gonna make sure that we look out for each other. And that's a big part of the reason we have what we have. So I certainly hear you there. Well, this sort of drifts into something that you were very active in that I actually did not know about this name, and I kind of got a kick out of it. How can't you? The Karen Act. So tell me about this. San Francisco's Karen Act makes placing racist 911 calls a hate crime. So what's going on here, and what was your role in it?
Thank you for that question. Um, yeah, our current president of the board of supervisors, um, he introduced the legislation for this because I think the most famous first Karen type behavior was the woman in Lake Merritt in Oakland who called the police because people were barbecuing. And after that, it's like video cameras start coming out every time, someone falsely accused someone of typical things, jogging down the street in their neighborhood. You had the young lady last year accused the black boy of taking her cell phone and straight up attacked him. Different issues like that. Here in San Francisco, we had I believe the man was Filipino, I'm not certain, or Latino. And he, with chalk, wrote Black Lives Matter on his house. And a white lady called the police on him, and he owned the house. So yeah,
I mean, that
supervisor.
was kind of funny at the end because because I mean, that was so like the whole time he was just, and she doubled and tripled and quadrupled down. And he goes, "So you know the owner of this house, huh?" And she goes, "Yes, I do." And he goes, "Okay, call the police." It's like, how disconnected from reality can you get to still think you're in the right here? Clearly, it's this person's house. It's in the middle of daytime. They're sitting there right out in the open, doing it totally deliberately.
And
And
it's chalk.
I know the people who own this house. You do, huh? And it's like, I mean, it could have been a tragic ending. Fortunately, it wasn't. And that woman, I forget her name, but I believe she, was it makeup that she had a makeup line or something like that?
Yeah, yes,
She had,
yes,
so it hurt her
yes.
product, which, deservedly so. And that was quite something, but they still move forward to call the police. And the thing about, well, tell me a little bit about the act itself. Like we can kind of go here where they talk about city signs legislation giving people right to sue callers after high profile incidents, target people of color for barbecuing, bird watching, and more. Now you do have to, it looks like you kind of have to prove that what happened is what happened. It's not like you can just have a conflict with somebody and something like this can happen. There has to be proof that, yeah, this was just some ridiculous bogus call that was a waste of everyone's time and it caused damage to these people who you called upon or called on. And especially I remember there was that one incident where that guy just asked the woman to put her dog on the leash, and she freaked out and called the cops. All this man did was ask her to follow the rules. And you kind of know, people that do that kind of thing, they know what they're doing. They know what the consequence could be because they know who the police are and what the police do. So
And
this
they
is
know their
not,
power. They know their
they know
power.
their power. They know their power. So this is not a matter of they didn't feel safe or anything like that. This is a matter of, oh, you're giving me an order. Guess what I can do? And that is hateful and terrible. And there should be some laws protecting people from that.
Yeah, and let me be clear, it's personal for me. I've had the police called on me falsely 6 times, four
Wow.
times by white women. Just recently, this year, I've had the police called on me twice. So, because it is personal, it motivated me to introduce a resolution to the San Francisco Democratic Party to support Shaman's legislation at the time that was in progress of being passed, and it passed, and I'm happy it did. And I will be interested to see if whether the police or the system will actually move on one of these false claims. Like I said, it just happened to me twice this year, and I kind of want to see if I can implement this on the people that call the police on me.
Why'd they call on you? Can you share details or?
Oh, no problem. I fractured my tailbone. So I called Veterans Hospital and they said, you need to come into emergency to get an x-ray. So my daughter's very low income and she can't take off of work, or has no pay for that day. So I watch her son, my grandson, and I took him with me to the hospital, and they said due to COVID, my grandson could not come in. And because Veterans Hospital is probably 80-90% male patients, I felt that they did not have the sensitivity that women take care of children. And it was my second time bringing my grandson to the hospital because he's only 4. I can't leave him outside. And they called the police on me. So the police came and they took me to the emergency room, because every time, now that's the funny part, every time the police are called on me, the police are looking at me like, this is ridiculous.
Mm,
So I'm lucky in that aspect,
yeah.
that they don't come rushing to me. And the few times they came running towards me and was looking for this irate or or uncontrollable. However, the caller described me. Twice, white women said I was gonna shoot them and had a gun. I've had that.
Did you have one?
You No, I've never owned a gun
I just
ever.
had to ask. I mean, just making sure.
Yeah, not I don't have one. I actually don't really like guns, but I know how to shoot them from my experience in the military.
I don't like them, and I don't know how to shoot them either. I went shooting once with a friend. He wanted to show it to me, and I was like, okay. And I didn't. I missed everything really bad. I mean, there were targets or whatever, and I didn't even come close. Like it was bad. My grandpa wanted to teach me how to shoot guns when I was younger, and my mom wouldn't let him. I mean, at the
Hmm.
time I was a kid, so I wanted to learn, but my mom wouldn't let him teach me. So, but
Yeah, and I worked at San Quentin 8 years,
oh
and
wow.
it was, yeah, it was very difficult being a non-white woman working there. And I actually had a Karen um, do just antagonize me. She was my supervisor, antagonized me a lot. I ended up filing an EEO complaint on her, and I won. So this Karen, there wasn't a name for it back then, but now she was a Karen.
So, well, let's talk about just kind of like activism and staying on the Karen Act for a little bit. You were kind of instrumental in making this a reality. So, what did you unpack that for me? What did you do?
The Karen Act you're referring to?
Yeah.
Well, again, it was President Shamal Walton's legislation that he introduced. But what I
Hmm.
did was I just read the legislation, uh, wrote my resolution, introduced it to the Democratic Party. I wish I was at the ready to be able to tell you who voted no on it, but uh, I, I don't want to assume and say the wrong name, but it passed, and I
Hmm.
was glad to have leadership on that. But definitely, President Walton, Shamal Walton, and his office did the initial legislation. I was a supporter of it.
Hmm. So, as far as how would you say people can really take back their communities? I mean, you are, you are acting locally. You are involved in local politics. Um, how do you feel people can really kind of take back their communities?
That's a loaded question. There's so much harm that has been done to communities, particularly here in San Francisco. The greed is pretty bad as far as housing developments and corporations, and um, no desire to care or do serious bold policy that will change people's lives. There's a few things in the works. I'm currently on the Guaranteed Income Committee. By December, we have a report where we're going to get cash to some of the lowest income people in the city of San Francisco. I'm on that committee because I experienced poverty, so they
So
wanted
that's
something.
likely going to happen. You guys
Oh,
are getting wow.
oh yeah. And then I'm also on the reparations committee, and we have 15 members, and I'm filling the seat as someone who's been previously homeless. So, although it's frustrating and sad that they want to take 2 years to come up with what we should do when almost anybody black can tell you in 2 days, but that's a process. It's a process, but we hope to do some bold moves to get people housed, to get education, to get wraparound services and cash to people that have historically, through redlining, through Jim Crow, and through just policy that specifically targeted different communities, um, made things as they are today. Because I believe when you care about the people doing the worst off, you help the whole community. For example, if you go downtown San Francisco and a poor person steps in some feces and tracks it around town past 6 Tax Fifth Avenue, that person with money steps in that same feces. We all got feces on our I didn't want to say shit, but we all
You
have
can
feces.
say it.
Okay.
You can
We're
say
all
shit as
walking
many
through the
times as you
same
want.
shit, you know? So if you help the person that doesn't do it all over the city, you're helping all of our shoes and what tracks on into our houses.
How do you think, I mean, you mentioned reparations, like, how do you, from a messaging standpoint, how do you try to go about that? Because I mean, I can, I'll share an experience. I am in favor of reparations, and there's a number of reasons why I am. The biggest reason being it's just the right thing to do. But one of the things you hear, especially from other white people, um, is, well, I mean, pretty much exclusively from other white people, but they always say, "Oh, well, you can't. Don't hold people responsible for the past. Don't hold people. They had nothing to do. Blah blah blah." And it's like, okay, all right, fair enough. But here's the thing. I was a road comic for a long time, and one of the
Mm,
places I used to do a lot of dates was in the Gulf Shores in Alabama. This all connects. Just
mm,
give me a second. And a common thing you would see down there is sometimes you'd see somebody. It was clear that they had a lot of money. It was clear that they were very rich. I saw a guy. He ordered a sandwich that cost maybe like $8. He handed his server $100 bill, which was a nice thing to do. Don't get me wrong. But I said, what's that person's deal? And one of the common answers you would hear when you ask that question, they have old money. What does that mean? That means their ancestors were slave owners. So you still have people who have never had to lift a finger a day in their lives because their family was slave owners. And it's like, okay, well, don't you feel like you're wanting to have your cake and eat it too? You're saying, don't hold people responsible for what their ancestors did. Okay, but it's okay that they don't owe anything. They owe nothing, and they're entitled to this lifetime of uh, innumerable, like obscene amounts of wealth for no reason other than what they inherited, and they owe nothing, even though we know how that wealth was accumulated. We know how it happened. We know how wrong that was, but they still that they owe nothing. Reparations are bad. They should owe nothing. They should be entitled to all the benefits because of the horrible things their ancestors did, but they don't owe anything. How does that add up? That's not justice. So how can you be? I mean, that's complicity, is what that is.
exactly. And to your point, that old money, we also have to include those old systems are still existing today as well, and they're interconnected. So the selling point, which is, I agree, very difficult to some people, is the reverse things. For example, here in San Francisco, they say, "Oh, you're only 4.9% of the population. You know, why do you need anything? Because you don't come, the votes won't tally up for you. You don't have a lot. You know, you guys, get a little percent of what the city $13 billion budget is, and be happy with your backpack giveaways." So I think for me, if people got more data, especially like who's number one in homeless in San Francisco, which race? Oh, it's 4% Black people here, but we're 35% of the homeless population. You know, you have 4% Black people here, but we're probably 50, 60% of those incarcerated here in San Francisco. It's only 4% of us here, but we have 26 schools here in San Francisco where the Black and brown children are the lowest performing in the state of California, you know? So the direct correlation between the crime people talk about is directly connected to poverty. So we have to do something or things are just going to get worse and worse. You can't bring people to a city to work on that shipyard, close the shipyard, and say, we ain't going to hire you in any other position. So you're fend for yourself. You can't do that to people.
So tell me about your elected position, the position that you hold.
Sure. Uh, each county in California has a Democratic Central Committee. The Democratic Central Committee is 1/3 of the California delegates, which that are assigned to the Democratic Party. We influence platform, and we also endorse candidates. I ran for that position out of being pissed off. Two people who I really, really wanted to win their seat. The body I am currently on did not endorse them, and they lost the endorsement by one vote. I was like, oh, I'm running because I'll be that one vote.
Right on. So my next question then, based on this, um, do you think there has ever been a bigger waste of potential in human history other than the state of California? I mean, and I say that with like, I mean, you know, it's just mind blowing to me. The amount, I mean, I live in the southern part, I'm in Los Angeles,
Mhm.
and the amount of resources this state has and what we could be doing and what we don't do through no fault of people like us, but because of the people at the top and the influencers, the big money donors who have their ear. I mean, we could be leading the way in healthcare and infrastructure and in climate change action. We could be leading the way in all of these things. And we do the opposite because of capitalism. How I mean, go ahead and answer the question. Has there ever been, like, I don't know if there ever has been. Like, I mean, I'm sure there has, but I can't think of something in human history where it's like the amount of potential a place has, and then the amount they deliver. And I really do love this place, and I'd like to be able to call it home for the rest of my freaking life. But man, is it infuriating?
Yeah, you remind me, Dr. Neil deGrasse Tyson. He
I'll
came to
take the
San Francisco.
compliment.
Huh?
I said I'll take the compliment. He's a
I'm
smart
not
guy.
calling you that, but you're
Oh,
reminding me.
okay.
You're reminding me of him. He's a brilliant mind. He talks to us about space, and he just really uh, his thinking is really up there, and I really respect him. But he came as a keynote to a conference here in San Francisco, and you had the white techie guy get up to the microphone, and I have my question, and he said, "What can we do to help society more? What is possible for us to do?" And Dr. Tyson said, "Stop making apps. With all this innovation right here in the Bay Area, you should be able to come up with solving homelessness, hunger, housing. It should be just put some minds together, put the plan, click, and it be done." Because you're right, we have the financial resources, but we also have the innovation, but for some reason, the greed and perhaps the need for people to um, have superiority feelings of us and them exist there. And also, I just lost my thought, but also this comfortable, um, it, we've gotten comfortable. It's like the lady who had the outburst in Victoria's Secret. I don't know if you saw that video, rolling all over
I
the
did.
floor
I
and stuff.
heard about it, but I didn't see it.
But people just kept on shopping. We're just so used to things being bizarre. We're comfortable in it.
Yeah, I mean, it's just I don't know how. Well, I mean, I do know how. We all know how. It's a large combination of things. It's first of all just I think a lot of people just aren't aware of how they're accepting this grossly low quality of life when it could be so much better at like the snap of a finger. It's just decision making, not on their part, but on the part of the powerful. And I think a lot of it is a media, and the media just kind of suppressing all this stuff, and a lot of it too is just all the misinformation that's out there. And you see things like all of a sudden Gavin Newsom's a little scared right now of losing his job, and all of a sudden he's denying fracking permits. All of a sudden there is $7 billion for broadband infrastructure. We had
Mhm.
this all along. We've always had this. We could have healthcare in this state, no problem. We could have it. We could have a single payer system that would be a model for the rest of the world, and then we'd get it federally. We could have leading broadband infrastructure that would lead the country and pretty much the world too. Then the rest of the country would follow suit. We have the money, like we literally have the money, like it's right there. But oil and gas companies don't want that. Big cable doesn't want that. The insurance lobby doesn't want that. And it is amazing that as a society, we are just letting capitalism hold us hostage. And man, I wish I had a one snap solution for it all. I don't, but I can't believe it's gotten to this point.
And then how do you break up the corruption? I mean, there's people who are getting homeless funds. All kind of nonprofits are receiving grants and funding from the state and the counties, but yet the deliverables are not matching. So a lot of them are getting it because friends, hiring friends, and it's like, how do you break that up?
Oh, right? First of all, we got to get all money out of politics. We got to, just that's a loaded question. That is a very, very loaded question. Like that's like, how do we even start breaking that up? I'm an advocate for a general strike. I think we need a general strike. I think that's the first step. We need a massive general strike. If we're not going to have one federally, like at least if we could have one in the state of California, that'd be a start. And then I think from there we make some real demands. And I think then and only then are we going to see the type of revolutionary status quo shifting change that we need. Electoralism alone is not going to get us there. I think it's actually a really small piece of the puzzle, albeit a piece. I think it's going to take a straight up general strike, shutting it down to where the
Hmm.
Jeff Bezos and the Elon Musk of the world, they notice and they have to get off their fun little spaceship because they notice something in their pocketbooks. And I think anything less is not enough. I really do.
And then why it's not a concern, pay now or pay later. We've seen the evidence of neglecting communities and corrupt systems, and what the existing policies are doing to people. The pandemic, I hoped, opened a lot of eyes on different um, lack of compassion for our fellow human beings. But it's like, don't people know things are going to get worse, like, and worse.
Yeah.
And until it's on your doorstep, that's when you want to say something. It's like, we don't start caring and having more compassion. Sean King, he does a good explanation of how technology soared my hand, but humanity's not matching. it's,
Yeah.
it's not it's not matching.
Yeah. That's the truth. When you look at, the one kind of silver lining and what happened with the pandemic is we're realizing that we can rethink what it means to work in our society, and we can rethink what it means to be at work. And there's no reason for this many cars to be on the road. There's just no reason for it. And we live in a digital village. It's time to embrace it and make internet a human right. And that's going to help with everything. Because I know that some people they don't, if you work in food service or something like that, not everybody can work from home. There's some jobs where
Right.
that's just not a possibility. But for everyone who can, it's time to be doing. For every occupation where that is an option, that option should be utilized now. And all these ridiculous office spaces, turn it into housing. It's like we are sitting on an opportunity and we have the technology to do so much better. And instead of using that technology to do so much better, we make another freaking stupid app. Not saying there
Exactly.
aren't some nice apps out there. Don't get me wrong. We all use some of them. I'm not saying every app's bad. I'm just, you know what I mean. But so is there anything I missed? I want to, I know that You cover a lot of ground in your work. So before we sign off here, is there anything that that you wanted me to highlight that I did not?
Um, I can't really think of anything, but to bring it full circle, back to Shahid Buttar, we connected and I supported him based on a lot of what we talked about today, you know, and I referenced Karen's actually calling the police on me, actually making false claims to me. And that is the key of why I wrote what I wrote on the long article. It was very long because it hurt me because I saw what was done to me and what was done to him. And a lot of people in politics think I committed political suicide by speaking out, but they have no idea. I'm not a ladder climber. I don't think, oh, if Chahig wins Congress, I can go to DC and get a job. That's not my thinking. That's not what got me involved. It was because I saw a front row seat this man being smeared, lied on, accused of crimes by people who were lying.
So, well, on a lighter note, since you brought it back to Shahid, Shahid and I have, I would describe it as a very, 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 very friendly small feud. And that small feud is, well, you're going to weigh in on this, and I'm hoping that you're going to be on Team Ron here, but we'll see. I think that Shahid should consider local office. Shahid doesn't think he should. What do you think, Gloria?
Well, I apologize because I was told, Gloria, you need to run for the school board. And um, I think he has to do what's in his heart. And because you do know him, he's a very, very intelligent man, almost
Yes,
to
he
the
is.
point of intimidating at times. And to have someone that intelligent and also be down with the community, if we could get someone like that in Congress, not only can he help affect locally, he can affect the country. So I'm kind of team Shahid on what he wants to do. I don't really like when people tell me the way to get up there, the way I should move. So um, he I don't know. I'm sorry, Team Shahid.
No, that's fine. I'm not, and again, it's a very friendly back and forth that we have. It's not,
Yeah,
like I totally want him to do him. It's just from a strategy standpoint. So like we just have that discussion. I think a lot of the goals he has, I think he could still accomplish that from a local office. And we've talked about this before. We'll talk about it again. It's kind of like an ongoing fun back and forth that we have. And by no means am I, like there's no pressure or anything like that. It's just a fun conversation. But I think he could still have that national effect as a city council member because of all the reasons you brought up. Because of how bright he is, because of how intelligent he is, because of the and not just how intelligent he is, but the areas in which he is an expert.
yeah,
He has a very special niche, and it would be amazing to have that in any type of political office. I mean, anything at all. And I just think that a lot of his goals, I think, could still be accomplished on city council in a place like San Francisco. If Shahid Buttar lived in Iowa, or something, no offense to Iowa, but if Shahid Buttar lived in a different district, I might not feel that way. But because he's in the heart of the beast, right near Silicon Valley, I feel like he would have a national effect like a Shama Suwant has. And yeah, that's all. I mean, we just got to go back and forth about it.
yeah. I
So
like to go one more counter. Um, Another reason I think would be great if he could be in Congress would be the imagery. It's like I'm so tired of us all having to try to look like an old white man. And he would just blow the lid off of that, the man bun, and he's Muslim. and he's a little funky, and he relates to the different cultures and people that are down with having fun sometimes. He would just put a whole nother image where people like me would be more encouraged to run. And that's why I ran my very first time in office, because of two Black women locally, who one is our mayor now, ran. And it gave me, like, they can do it, I can do it. So that is in there a little bit for me. Maybe I have a little bias, but yeah, just to mix up the visual of what Congress looks like, along with
Totally.
all that intelligence.
Totally. So where can people go to learn more about you?
Well, I have a uh politician page, which is Gloria Berry for Democratic Party, San Francisco. That's pretty boring. It pretty much just lets people know what's coming up next, whatever. However, I'm a very transparent person. My Facebook, Gloria Berry, just simple like that. I was told to clean it up since I'm now an elected official, and I just don't believe in that. I believe
Well,
in
I mean, you're coming on this show. Clearly, you don't believe in that.
and I believe in setting my own blueprint. I'm 52. I'm a grandmother. If people do not like me, I am okay with that. And I like to show more of my personality and not be so straight laced where I lose all my personal friends. Anyone who's gotten to know me through politics, it's like a family. There's some love going on, and I can show my pictures of my grandson being goofy, and we all can hit like and share, and I could tell a joke about LeBron James, and we can laugh and share, and I don't want to lose that. So yeah, anybody's welcome to come to my Facebook page. I'm not a big tweeter, but every blue moon I do.
Right on, Gloria. Well, thank you so much for being here, and I really appreciate all your work, and I hope you'll come back soon to share more of what's going on in your work with us, and I appreciate everything you do. Thanks so much for being here today.
Yeah, it was nice to meet you, and I'm gonna check out some of your shows, see what's going on, get some
Thank you
giggles.
so much. Well, we'll be in San Francisco on September 11th. Actually, yeah, September
I,
11th. We'll be in San Francisco.
I hope to meet you. I
All
really
right, looking forward to it. Thanks so much. Cheers.
no problem. Have a great
Oh,
day.
wait. One last question. This is the hardest question. Do you have any pets?
Allergic, so no.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right.
And I kill
I
fish. I kill fish.
I do pet send-offs on my show. So whenever I have a guest, I ask them if they have pets, and if they don't, I just do something from the Twitter thread. But if they do, their pet gets the shout out. But yeah, it's always my last question. Thank you so much, Gloria. Thank you for everything you do, and it was wonderful to talk to you. And be well.
Thank
Cheers.
you. Thank you.
Bye. Gloria Berry, that was awesome. That's really cool. That's politics in action. Let me go to the chat here, folks, and then I'll give us a little pet send off. I got to remember to always ask my guests that. Sometimes I almost forgot there, and then it was last minute. I was like, wait a second. I would have felt bad if I forgot, and then I go to it, maybe they were like, oh, I have 12 dogs, and Ron didn't. There were no shout outs. So yeah. So we'll go do a Twitter shout out, and I'll make a couple announcements. First of all, folks, tour dates are up and tickets are available. We are coming a lot of places: San Francisco, Sacramento, Tucson, Tempe, Detroit, Cleveland, Pittsburgh, Philadelphia. Just announced tickets available now. New York City, Washington, D.C., Asheville, North Carolina, Jacksonville, Florida, Gainesville, Florida, Orlando, Miami, Tampa, Atlanta. Tickets will be available soon. Nashville, Louisville, Indianapolis, Chicago, Minneapolis, Madison. I think that covers it all. Boy, we are hitting the road very hard, very, very hard. And also, coming up, not this Saturday, but the next Saturday, I will be the 24th. I will be part of the March for Medicare for All. That's a march for Medicare for All. And let me make sure I get their website right here. I'll tell you guys where to It's m4m4all.org. M, the number 4, M, the number 4 again, all.org. So there's going to be marches all throughout the country. I will be at the one in Los Angeles, and that is on July 24th. Let me go to the chat here. Let's see. Aspen Fallen, what's up? Thank you very much for the super chat contribution. Dante Wright, say his name. Yes, thank you for that. Dante Wright is that is the person that was referenced earlier in the show who was murdered by police in Minnesota. I believe so. That is the person who was murdered by police in Minnesota, and you can still see this video. I'm sure it's still out there. But when they were murdered by police, the officer said to the other officer, he was shot while he was in a car. The officer said to the other officer, "We'll get you through this." Isn't that amazing? That's amazing. They, wow. Whew. They weren't talking to the person bleeding to death. They were talking to Dante Wright. So there you go. Thank you for sharing that name, Aspen Fallen. I appreciate you doing that. Thank you. And then you also say something to me over on the Rockfin, and you say, "Thank you for this important conversation, Ron and Gloria. We have to talk about it to be better on this subject. Much appreciated." Thank you very much for that. And it was awesome to talk to Gloria today, folks. So we're going to be off next week. There's going to be pretty much no shows next week. And the reason for that is my folks are coming to visit. So I'm taking a little hiatus for the week because my folks are coming to visit. And in the not too distant future, there's going to be some changes here in Get Your News On with Ron land. I don't know exactly how yet, but some things are going to change a little bit. I think for the better, but they're going to be changing nonetheless. And the reason for that is I have a movie that I'm working on, and I have a couple other projects in the works that I'm working on that are going to demand my time and attention. And I want to still do Get Your News On with Ron, but I may need to kind of tweak how I do it. And one of the other things is a lot of you have been telling me that you've been enjoying the kind of short explainer videos that I've been doing. I did one on net neutrality yesterday. I've been getting a lot of positive feedback on those. A lot of you think, Ron, you should do a lot more of these. Now, I've been doing them for a while, but I don't do them all the time. And I'm thinking I may be doing more of them. So anyway, I know this is a very vague announcement, and it's because I don't have all the answers yet. But in the coming months, there's going to be a few changes that I think are going to be for the best. But my movie is going to be taking up some time, and I cannot wait until the trailer drops for it, and you all get to see it. I cannot fricking wait. But anyway, thank you so much, Aspen Fallen, for the Rockfin tip and the super chat contribution. Doc Terminus, what's up? How are you, Doc Terminus? Thank you very much for the Rockfin tip over here. And you say, "Thanks, Ron. Can't wait to see you fellas in Pittsburgh here soon." That's right. I can't wait to see you there, Doc Terminus. We'll be in Pittsburgh. That's October 8th. We'll be in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, my hometown. Can't wait to see everyone there. So thank you, Doc Terminus. Thank you, Aspen Fallen on, and then thank you, Aspen Fallen on YouTube as well. You guys know the drill. Oh wait, I got to do another pet here. Hold on. I got my pet. This is actually a buddy of mine. Check this out. My buddy Chad. He's a very funny comedian in Nashville. Follow him on Twitter at Chad Ryden. This is Professor Twinkle Toes, and it's a duck. Chad has ducks, so Chad's duck gets a shout out. Professor Twinkle Toes. Professor Twinkle Toes says quack, quack. And Lucy says meow. And I say peace. I'll see y'all. Well, I'll see y'all not this week, but the following. Stay safe in the meantime. Peace.